All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheel Podcast, Season 2, Episode 27. And that 27 is one of my favorite numbers because that was a Paul Menard's number back in the day. The British are coming. Paul Menard. That was what I said back in the day when we did water balloon fights. Why did I say that? Because one of my neighbor's friend's dads who did the water balloon fights said the British are coming, Paul Revere. But I switched it to Paul Menard because one of the balloon colors was the bright day glow yellow of Paul Menard's car. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that story, Andrew.
Yeah.
I'm here too, by the way. You didn't introduce me.
Yeah, Ethan is there as always. So
No
yeah,
longer on a boat.
you're on land.
I am on land.
Did you enjoy your boat?
The boat time was very fun, but I do have to say 11 days, maybe a little much. Happy to be back on land.
All right. So yeah, let's get into the actual podcast stuff. Enough about our things of life and story time.
And now for last week's race reviews.
Into the reviews. NASCAR went to the streets of Chicago, and it was one of the races of all time.
Oh, it is totally one of the races of all time. Best way to describe what happened.
I will just say normally I try to rate these races out of 10. There is no number that I can describe this because it is all a 5 and an 8 simultaneously. So it is unnumberable. You cannot put a number to this. But I'll just take you through what happened. Some cars pit on the pace laps for dry tires. That was a free stop because the NASCAR said, okay, well, teams get to choose dry or wet tires on road courses. Yay! So yeah, you have that. So say NASCAR said, okay, we don't want you guys going in completely blind. We'll give you a free lap, see what the track looks like from the driver's perspective, and then if you want to make a free change, you can make a free change. That's what some teams did. So everyone was pretty much on the wets to start. Most people went to the dries. A few people went from the dries to the wets. Some stayed on the wets. I don't think anyone stayed on the dries. So yeah, that's kind of what happened to start. And then, yeah, and then after that, on the initial start, Ty Gibbs passes Kyle Larson in the wettish conditions. SVG passes Gibbs for the lead while passing lap cars on lap 2. Lap 12 rather. Stenhouse taps the wall and LaJoie spins yellow. Everyone pits for dries at this point. Thank you, Corey LaJoie, for making one of the most interesting parts of the race boring. You're mid. SVG wins stage 1 under the yellow. With the pit stops of dry to wet tires, the order went from to Bell, Gibbs, Larson, Van Gisbergen, and Bowman. The 2311 cars, Wallace and Reddick, had contact with each other exiting pit road because of a stack up. Zane Smith stays out on the wet tires. Gibbs passes the first row on the restart because Smith was slow and Bell had a big slide. Wallace spins from contact from Bowman. Suarez gets tagged as well. And then Chase Briscoe goes into the tire barrier in 6 with a yellow. Who hits SVG, who retires. Actually, I made a mistake earlier. It went from dry-ish conditions to more wet conditions. Yeah, still thank you, Corey LaJoie, for ruining that part of the race. And now with the favorite out, the race was wide open for everyone. but there was a red flag for standing water. Yay. At some point earlier in the race, NASCAR said, okay, this is the time we're going to be racing to. So that was a good call on NASCAR. You did a good job there for saying, okay, this is the time we're going to be racing to.
I think it was probably because of like city laws, just like it being like right in the heart of the city. There's probably sound laws and all that.
And this thing called lack of daylight.
That too, but
I think that might be the bigger issue is lack of daylight. But yeah.
maybe.
Anyway,
not any lights nearby.
not enough to light up a track. No,
I
you
guess.
you have to bring in lights for that, and because the lights that you have in the city they won't cut it. You have to bring in a lot of lights. The only road course that you can race at night is the Daytona road course because the oval's already lit and they bring in lights for the road course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that you can do because just it's hard. It would be hard to do it. Red flag for standing water, which at points they probably should have gone back to green, I thought. But NASCAR is just traumatized, I think, and rightfully so, from the COTA race from I believe 2021, where everyone was wrecking. You can see Martin Truex Jr. got plowed into by I think it was Cole Custer in the Haas 41 at that point, where he went very much airborne. So yeah, I guess that makes sense, but I kind of wish it went back to green so we got more racing in from a racing fan's perspective. But I understand it. Not chicken award worthy, but they were a little chicken, pun intended. Anyway, when we get back green, we realize, oh, we're probably not going to get back to racing the full race. But yeah, so Gibbs holds lead on the restart. Hamlin locked up into Stenhouse and both in the wall, no yellow. Battle to lead lap 31. Larson into the wall, lap 34. Cautions out. It's just too hot on the braking. Bell holds lead on the restart. Then simultaneously Barry and Briscoe went into the barrier, no yellow. Priest into the barrier, which I did not bring out the caution. Cars pit for slicks, the dry tires, lap 43. Austin Dillon into the wall momentarily. More pit the next lap, lap 44. But not everyone pits. Barry into the wall again. Joey Hand wins stage 2. Stage 3, no one really pitted, but the order was Hand, Bowman, Keselowski, Hocevar, Elliott. Hand holds lead on the restart, 15 minutes left. Allmendinger into the tires. Bowman to the lead, 11 minutes to go. Barry crashes. 48 holds lead on the lap 54 restart, 4 minutes left. Briscoe into the wall. Nemechek into the wall almost causes a wreck coming when he was driving out of the wall. So that was fun. 19 Truex sideways into 47. Stenhouse into Bell, who was coming on fresh tires and probably would have caught Bowman, but didn't because he was spun into Carson Hocevar in that incident. No yellow. Denny Hamlin and Austin Hill go into the wall together. No caution. Tyler Reddick is coming on the final lap. Tyler Reddick hits the wall in 4 and 5, slowing him down, costing him his race. Bowman wins. Reddick, again, 2 weeks in a row, mentally just emotionally dead in the post-race interview. Is Tyler Reddick a choker now? Question mark. Probably not. I will mention the Xfinity race was good with SVG having the best.
That was a really, really good
car.
race.
It just shows you how well the street course can be when we have, regardless of the weather. And my dad suggested, because for the driest time in Chicago would be August. So hopefully that Chicago does stay on the schedule next year. And I
Just
think
different time of
August
year.
would be the best time, dry weather, so you can get a full race in.
For sure.
So yeah, it was just it was a strange race. It was not like last year in that it was a good strange, it was a weird strange. It was, like I said, I couldn't put a number on this.
Yeah, I don't think you could put a number on it. It was all around weird. I watched the entire race and I'm right there with you. It was just weird, man.
Unfortunately for my brain, Mid-Ohio was not much better. It was in fact way worse. New hybrids from engine Mid-Ohio, first race of that. The hybrids were, I really didn't notice anything. A couple issues, but there are a couple issues. With the big one being Scott Dixon stalling on the track and pulled to the outside of track on pace laps. His race was effectively over.
But you don't think the race was this bad because of the new hybrid powertrain?
No, it wasn't bad. I'll tell you why later, but yeah. Race starts on the yellow. First lap of racing was lap 3. Alex Palou leads from pole. Everyone pits. The 3 stoppers first, then the 2 stoppers. The people that were on 3 stops that had no chance at winning, the best potentially was Joseph Newgarden, who there were issues with his race, but he could have ran as well as 5th. So the 3 stoppers had no chance at a podium. Maluka stalls on pit road. He was in 4th. Mid-Ohio is a tough pit road because it's uphill and they run a tall first gear. So I would expect a lot less stalling in the future. But instead of having to refire the engine, you can refire it. Actually, on pit road, you have to refire it with the old way. You have to get a starter. But on the track, you don't have to use a starter, which did come in handy a few times. So that's a good thing about the hybrids. Pato closes in on Palou a little bit, another pit cycle. Palou stalls a little bit on pit road. He was able to get it going, but he just stopped a little. That allowed Pato O'Ward to get to the lead. Newgarden drive-through speeding, had another drive-through speeding, and then he had his pit penalty, stop and go, or more even a stop and hold for failure to listen to the IndyCar stewards or something. So yeah, he had a bad race. Apparently there's some sort of tech issue gone wrong or sensor gone wrong there. Grosjean spins right in front of the leaders, or he came out right in front of the leaders, so that was fun. And yeah, that was the end of the race. Palou was closing in, had the faster car, but just couldn't pass because I have to say, Mid-Ohio's not a very good racetrack. I was looking at it and just there isn't many passing zones. You pull up Mid-Ohio, anyway, your top podium was O'Ward getting his first win where he crossed the line first in a couple of years. Then Palou and then McLaughlin. If you pull up the Mid-Ohio racetrack, which is what I'm going to do real quick.
Really puts the mid in Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, it really puts the mid. You have turn 1, which is a good passing zone. You have the keyhole, another good passing zone. And then you have the turn 4, which is another good passing zone. But after that, it's just a bunch of hills and places where you don't expect a lot of great passing. So yeah, it's just not great. works well for stock car racing. One of my favorite races all time, the 2017 Mid-Ohio Challenge, I believe. That was one of the best races where NASCAR went in the rain, and it was awesome. That's was an awesome race. Just doesn't fit well in with Indy cars these days. For me personally, with Mid Ohio, I would say, okay, let's not go to Mid Ohio. Let's go up north, east to back to the Cleveland Burke Lakefront Airport. Bring that track back. I think it would be great. That would be my choice. Ethan, were you able to watch the race at all?
Mid-Ohio?
Yeah,
I didn't watch it, no.
you did not. You saved yourself a lot of time.
Yeah, sounds like I really did.
This yeah. Finally for me, this is what it would imagine most of the Formula One races were until like this random stretch where Max Verstappen had decided to just stop being winning every race. So yeah, go talk about Formula One.
Speaking of Max Verstappen not winning every single race, the British Grand Prix happened. It was a really good race. Really, really, really good. Like you said, this entire stretch of Formula One has been so refreshing, so nice to see. Um, I wouldn't even say that like, the races before this stretch were necessarily bad, but just nothing compares to when you have so many different winners and battles and all that stuff in a stretch of racing. So, yeah, I mean, I'll get into it though. Really, the action started, or not action, but things of note started happening before the race even started. On the formation lap, Pierre Gasly had to retire due to a gearbox issue. Sergio Perez was also starting from the pit lane. And then when the race did start on lap one, Max Verstappen, who was starting in fourth because he damaged his floor pretty severely in Q1. He was only able to qualify P4. He had a great getaway off the line. He was neck and neck with Lando Norris for a little bit, jumped him into turn 4 as Norris looked like he was trying to go around Hamilton right before turn 4, around the outside of him, I guess, or inside, I suppose, actually. But there wasn't room, so Hamilton closed the door on Lando, and then that opened the door for Verstappen to go around him. Also, on lap 1 in that same complex there, Hulkenberg went off track, and when he rejoined, Fernando Alonso slowed down, and Alex Albon ran into the back of him, and then his car after the contact, his car kind of just jumped to the side, and Logan Sargent and Albon made contact. Didn't really ruin either of their races, but they did come together. After lap 1, not a whole lot happened, but it wasn't like a boring stretch of the race or anything. It just things were brewing, but nothing had actually happened yet. Next bit of true action, I should say, was lap 13. Leclerc, who started in 11th, finally made his way up into P7, passing Lance Stroll at Stowe, slotting in right behind Carlos Sainz. And at this point, you're probably thinking Ferrari could maybe have a good race. They got Leclerc back up to where Sainz is. It's lap 13. But then the rain started to fall. Wasn't heavy rain or anything, but the rain was definitely affecting the drivers. Not enough to go on the inters, but enough to make it difficult to drive on the slicks. Lap 15, Lando had been catching up to the leaders. Verstappen was catching up to Verstappen on lap 15, passed him at Stowe down the inside. Lap 17, Piastri does the same on Verstappen. The McLarens were super strong in these somewhat rainy conditions. On lap 18, Hamilton passed Russell for the lead on the Hainer straight going into Stowe. And on lap 19, both Hamilton and Russell ran wide at Abbey, which is turn 1, allowing Lando and Oscar to catch up to them. And then Lando passed George on the loop, which is the turn 4 that I was talking about earlier. On lap 20, and then this is just classic Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, he boxed for inters despite the rain like already starting to let up and the forecast saying that it would be dry soon. Or not dry, but the rain would be completely stopped soon. So absolute genius call for Ferrari. For some reason, Guan Yu Zhou, Esteban Ocon, and not Pierre Gasly, he retired, Sergio Perez did as well. Just genius strategies all around from those 4 guys. Also on lap 20, though, Lando Norris passed Lewis Hamilton on the straight named after him, the Hamilton straight, which is the start-finish straight, going into turn 1. And then the Mercedes started to fall back. Oscar got past George and Lewis on the same lap. And then a few laps later, we had the rain stopping and then the rain starting up again. But it was basically just a terrible time for everyone that went on the intermediate tires because the rain had stopped and then they were cooking their tires. So finally, though, when lap 27 came around, Max and Sainz, they pit for inters at pretty much the perfect time, and they started the next cycle of guys pitting for inters. The next time around, Lando pit and the 2 Mercedes pit, but Oscar stayed out, which was such a dumb decision. McLaren could have told Piastri to back off of Lando a little bit, and they could have double stacked. And the decision to not double stack maybe cost Piastri the win. We'll talk about that later on. But the inters, they were fading quickly. Even in the rain was falling, but the inters were still fading quickly because there wasn't enough rain on the entire track. So again, tires were having to be managed. On lap 34, George Russell retired due to a water system issue, aka he was losing water pressure. Kind of ironic since it was raining. On lap 38, track starts drying. People start pitting for slicks. On lap 39, Lewis and Max pit for softs and hards respectively. Oscar Piastri, he pit for mediums. 1 lap later, Lando comes in and pits for softs. Now, that was the wrong move. Everyone knew that the mediums were the best tires. If you had mediums available, which Lando did, you should have gone on the mediums. Everyone knew that except for Lando Norris's engineer, apparently, because his side of the garage wasn't decisive. They didn't give him the proper information, and they were just like, pick one. A driver, you can't ask a driver to make that decision when you on the pit wall have the data, have all the information. They asked Lando if he wants to cover Lewis or cover Max. Lewis is the guy right behind him in second place, so he chose that, but that's not the information that you are asking him. Whereas like Oscar's side of the garage, they just said, yep, we're going mediums. That's how you have to be as an engineer. So Lando's side of the garage, they sold him there. People have been saying that that's on Lando. That's not on Lando. Engineers exist for a reason. They need to make those calls. But anyway, mini rant out of the way. It was also a slow pit stop, so he just came out behind Lewis Hamilton anyway. So I don't know if the undercut for Lewis would have worked if there wasn't a slow pit stop. Might have not. But either way, it doesn't matter because the pit stop was slow. So both Lewis and Lando, first and second, are on softs. Max, he didn't have mediums. He only had hards. So he went on to hards. He's in P3. And Max's tires, they're working great. Of course, it takes a couple laps for them to get fired up. But once they are fired up, they are so much better than Lando and Lewis's softs that are falling away. So on lap 48, Verstappen, He goes around the outside of Lando Norris at Stowe. His soft tires are dead. Couple laps later, the race is going to end. If the race extended longer, maybe even 1 or 2 more laps, Max would have caught Lewis and won the race. But the race did end on lap 52. Lewis Hamilton won. His first win in 3 years, 9 wins at Silverstone for him, the most at a single circuit in F1 history for any driver. I believe that is his 104th career win. If that's his last win, that is such a perfect way for Lewis Hamilton's winning to end. I mean, I'm not saying he won't get another win, but if that is how it ends, he did it with Mercedes. He did it at Silverstone. Like, just absolutely perfect for him. And just for F1 in general, like I was saying before I got into this breakdown, 5 different winners in the last 7 races. That is really impressive for F1. But yeah, great for Mercedes. If McLaren didn't fumble with Lando, they would have had a chance to win. If they had double stacked Oscar and then Oscar was still on the if he still went on the mediums and Lando went on the softs, Oscar could have potentially won. So McLaren fumbled in multiple ways, but I don't want to be too negative because it was a great moment for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Sainz, who also got the fastest lap, Hulkenberg in 6th. Once again, Lance Stroll, Alonso, Albon, and Tsunoda. That is the top 10 of the British Grand Prix. It was a great race. If I have to put a number on it, like 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Going back to IndyCar real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Toby Sowery. Came into Dale Coyne, didn't have much preparation. He finished 13th. And of the Dale Coyne cars, that is the tied for highest finish all year. This kid, he's earned himself another shot. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I want to see him
There you
again.
go. Impressive for him.
And 5 winners in 7 the last 7 races, you say?
Yeah.
Last 7 IndyCar races. We have 6 winners.
Wow. Congratulations.
Alex Bull, your only repeat winner. Six winners this entire season. So yeah.
Before we get into the news, just 2 more things about the British Grand Prix. Leclerc, Ferrari just keeps fumbling the bag with him. They pit him, like I said, way too early on the inters. That just absolutely ruined his race. He's had such bad luck and misfortune, just the team destroying him. Not every single race, but like they did the opposite of what they did in Canada. In Canada, the track was raining. There was rain on the track and they went on slicks. It was the opposite here. Like, what is Ferrari doing with Charles Leclerc? What are you doing? And then also Sergio Perez. Yes, he started from the pit lane, but you can't be finishing in like 16th or 17th, wherever he ended up finishing. You're in a Red Bull, dude. What are you doing? And again, he also pit at the same time that Leclerc did for those inters. So his race was also ruined by that, but point still stands, to be honest. Like, he hasn't scored like solid points in quite a while at this point. So we'll talk about it more in the F1 news, but he's struggling, man. Seriously struggling.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But with that, let's get into the news.
Into the news.
And now for the news.
Hailie Deegan AM Racing officially part ways. Goals no longer align in quotation marks. Um, from what
That's a
it sounds like, the old crew chief that got fired, the team just wasn't investing money that they were last year. I'm no genius, but when you invest less money into something compared to previous years, you're probably going to be worse.
yeah, that makes sense.
That's a chicken award.
Bok bok.
Bok. Is that's what you get? And granted, I will say the new crew chief is way worse than the old one. Joe Williams was actually a decent crew chief, and the new crew chief doesn't know how to set up a car, it sounds like. That because Joey Logano was telling him what to do.
Yeah, Joey
the car.
Logano had to inform the team how to make the car less tight.
Real big brain usage there. And
Seriously.
yeah. And I will say Hailie Deegan, not as good of a driver as Brett Moffitt is, but I don't think she would have matched what Brett Moffitt was doing. But yeah, I'm just gonna say she isn't good, but man, I feel bad for her because she said, okay, I'm gonna jump up to this team that had speed last year. And they're just like, nah, we're not gonna have speed this year. So not gonna invest. So it's unfortunate for her. Is that I don't think she's gonna be good in anything she drives in terms of NASCAR. Because we've seen it in trucks. Had good equipment, couldn't do anything with it in Thor Sport and Tricon. And I don't this is not a knock on Hailie, but she's just this ride's performance is not a knock on Hailie. It's a knock on the team. And we'll see how they run with a revolving door of cup drivers, plus who knows in the playoff time. We'll see. AM Racing, they look bad at the moment. So yeah, chicken award for you. Yeah. Moving on to NASCAR officially rolls out the electric vehicle in Chicago model. Hey, people of the world, they're not going to use it anytime soon. They don't have plans for it. So I think at the best we're going to see it being used is like 2027 is when we're going to see it be used at the soonest. So everyone who's freaking out about it, no reason to freak out. Literally, they're doing a test. Only reason why the only negative emotion I'm feeling about this is like, why are you doing something that you aren't going to use? But if you just want a new toy, fun, okay. But people, calm down on this. No reason to panic. Like, NASCAR EV, I hate electric, They're just doing it for fun. And I like toys. Like, like you want to have many toys in life. That's just a toy for NASCAR. So pump the brakes, calm down. Nothing's going to happen yet. I don't think NASCAR is going to be. The rumors are NASCAR is going to collab with Nitro Cross or something. We'll see what happens with that. But people, calm down. That's all I got to say about that. And so the final piece of NASCAR news. Rodney Childress joining Spire Motorsports as crew chief of the number 7 in 2025 on a multi-year deal. This is a strange move because when Kevin Harvick said he was going to retire, when he said that, Rodney Childress said he's going to retire. And then he stuck around with Barry for one more year, and people thought, oh, they might be a package deal to go to Wood Brothers. Yeah, so it was kind of weird seeing him stay around. And Spire Motorsports not signing him isn't a huge surprise because Spire has big money. But the surprising part about this is him going to Corey LaJoy, you think he might go to Carson Hocevar, who's a young driver who could need development that Childress could help foster. You'd think, oh, might help Michael McDowell to get the 71 team going because they haven't been good. New driver, new crew chief could do that. Pairing him with Coy LaJoie is strange because Coy LaJoie, I feel like he's maxed out his potential. He can't be better than what he is. So it's I'm not quite sure if that's the best move for Spire. Don't know. So it's kind of strange. Because just seeing that, I don't know. It's strange. Moving to IndyCar here. Catherine Legg to make Dale Coyne return at Iowa. I saw there was a rumor that she'd be doing the rest of the ovals, so this makes sense that she's doing Iowa, Gateway, and Nashville are the only 2 oval, and Milwaukee. So 4 ovals after this weekend makes sense for her to run Iowa. She's good at the ovals, relatively speaking. So yeah, makes sense. We'll see how the team runs at Iowa. Ethan, Formula One news?
Formula One time. As I was talking about during the race review, Sergio Perez, he is seriously disappointing. I mean, let's take a look at the F1 standings. Max Verstappen in first place with 255 points. Then you have Lando Norris in second, 171. Then you have Leclerc, Sainz, Piastri, and then all the way down in sixth with 118 points, Sergio Perez. From first to sixth, over 100 points difference. If you want to be exact, that's 137 points. And in the constructors standings, I mean, Ferrari and McLaren are catching up to Red Bull. Red Bull's sitting at 373. Ferrari, they're at 302. McLaren, they're at 295. Red Bull's not safe. They only have one driver right now. I mean, Sergio Perez, the last time he scored a top 5 was Miami. It's been 8th in Italy, retirement in Monaco and Canada. So, whatever. But then 8th, 7th, and 17th for Spain, Austria, and the British Grand Prix. You can't have that. You just can't. You're trying to win a championship. You can't have that. And so he very well could be replaced. There is a clause in Sergio Perez's contract that states that if he is 100 points behind Max Verstappen at the summer break, they have the right to terminate his contract. And if you remember, he's 137 points, not 100. So if that continues in the summer break, Red Bull very well could drop him, and they probably will if he can't get better positions. This is from motorsport.com. Where's the quote? Christian Horner said that he knows it's unsustainable to not be scoring points. We have to be scoring points in that car, and he knows that. He knows his role and his target. Nobody is more eager than Checo to find his form again. So, I mean, that kind of tells me that they're not giving up on him quite yet. But this is Red Bull. Don't be shocked at all if he's replaced during the summer break. And honestly, it would be harsh, but it would be the right move. It would be a necessary move to make. Who are you going to replace him with, though? Well, it's either going to be Daniel Ricciardo or Yuki Tsunoda, most likely. You're not going to put Liam Lawson in that car. And For me, it would have to be Yuki Tsunoda because Daniel Ricciardo has not been performing. There have been rumors saying that Daniel would be the one to go up, and those rumors have been pretty strong. But Horner has said that Yuki has a chance to be promoted to Red Bull. You can never rule anything out. We have options for multiple years on him because we believe he's a talent. So, I mean, I don't know. That's not the most ringing endorsement, but he's in the hunt. I hope that they would go with him over Daniel because Daniel has been struggling so much. Yes, he knows the Red Bull team, but he's not the same driver that he once was. He just isn't. So we'll see what happens, but that's the latest on Sergio Perez and Red Bull.
Yeah,
Little soft there.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with you.
Yeah, it needs to be Yuki Tsunoda. Moving on though, Ferrari's technical director of chassis, Enrico yeah, I don't know. Enrico, he is relinquishing his role with the team, and there are rumors that he is going to go to Aston Martin, leaving Ferrari for Aston Martin. Multiple Italian media sources have linked that ESPN is reporting. And it makes sense. Aston Martin is probably a desirable place to go. I'm sure that Mr. Stroll pays his employees rather handsomely. Enrico and Fernando Alonso have a relationship. So I can see why the move would be one that someone might make, but it does put Ferrari in a bit of a tough spot. Fred Vasseur is now going to oversee the chassis in the interim before they can kind of find someone to take over for him. I've seen some people on social media talk about like, oh, this is because they're kicking him out of the team because Adrian Newey is going to come to Ferrari. That's just wrong in so many ways. I just want to like, if anyone listening like thinks that, I just want to like squash that because Enrico is leaving on his own terms. He's a chassis guy, and Adrian Newey is an aerodynamics guy. That it just doesn't line up. He still could very well be going to Ferrari. Like, I think that's still extremely likely. I think that is probably what's going to happen. But this does not mean anything for the Adrian Newey saga. It just means that Ferrari, who's in a rough patch right now, are going to need to find another chassis guy quickly unless they want to be in an even rougher patch. Last bit of news, again, more about Ferrari's rough patch. They went back to the Imola spec of their race car for Silverstone. They lost months of development. Carlos Sainz is saying, he said, "It is clearly not good enough. We have basically the same car as in Imola, and since Imola, everyone has upgraded, probably added 2/10 to the car, and we've had to revert. We have lost 2 or 3 months of performance gain in the wind tunnel, or performance we could have added in these 3 months. So clearly we haven't taken the right calls recently. I feel like today was at least back to basics, back to a car which was in Imola, and we just need to upgrade it from here. But it is clear that our rivals are a good step ahead of us." That quote is from Autosport. But basically, Ferrari, they wiped the slate, not completely clean, but in Imola, they had a good car. Since then, it's been downhill, I would say, for the team in terms of performance, and everyone else has been faster. So they know where they went, or maybe they don't know exactly where they went wrong, but they know why the car isn't faster, and that's because the car is bouncing. There was a big porpoising issue a few years ago in F1, and now this Ferrari has been bouncing around, which isn't good. It's hard to carry speed through those high-speed corners with a car that's bouncing around. Hard to really do much of anything with a car that's bouncing around. So they at least know what they need to try and fix. But they, like Sainz said, they lost a lot of time to their competitors who are quicker than them now. Mercedes, they improved a whole bunch, and they're going to be releasing 2 more upgrades packages before the summer break anyway. And for McLaren, they're still extremely fast. Red Bull, they're still extremely fast. Ferrari, they're on the back leg in a major way, but at least they know where they need to improve.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton right now may be questioning his decision a little bit, seeing the recent performance.
He might be regretting it.
Anyway, on to the preview.
And now for next week's race previews.
Pocono, NASCAR Cup Series action, NASCAR Cups Xfinity Series action, and NASCAR Truck Series action.
Everyone loves triangles.
The tricky triangle. What turn 4? The Pocono saying is in trucks, notable entries. I'm not going to give you top 5 drivers for trucks like I do for Cup and for Cup because I don't want to, and trucks are not important. But anyway, not that important. 1 Tricon truck, Chris Wright. Number 7 Spire, Connor Mosak. Going down the list here, number 22 Rayum Mason Maggio. Number 27 Rayum Keith McGee. Brian Doza brings the fire department New York team to Pocono. The home race for that team. Ross Chastain in the 3rd truck. Nice this week. Luke Fenhouse back in the 5th Thor Sport 66. The 91 is Zane Smith this week. 90 Justin Carroll. The 21 is Sage Karam. The 46 Thad Moffitt team went from faction to Young's Motorsports. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for them. Yeah, so that's the trucks, the CRC brake lean 175. In Xfinity, explore the Pocono Mountains 225. You have going into there in the JD Motorsports cars, they have the regular drivers, Cram and Smithley. Dye brings the 4th colleague car, the number 10 this week, Daniel Dye. 17 this week for Hendrick, William Byron. The All-Star cars for Gibbs are the 19 of Taylor Gray, 20 of Ryan Truex. Switching the crew chiefs on those this week for 1 of 4 races. The 26 is Corey Heim. The 35 for Joey Gase is TBA. 15 this week is Josh Berry. I skipped him for AM Racing. Going down, 74 is Jade Buford. You have the 92 for DGM TBA. The 2 Emmerling Gase cars are Patrick Emmerling and Mason Massey. So I'm trying to see if there's any updates on the TBA cars. Joey Gase will be in the 35, and the 92 is still listed as TBA. DGM. We'll see who the driver is there. For Pocono, you have Cody Ware in the 15, AJ Allmendinger in the 16, and JJ Yaley is bringing the 44 with NY Racing for the Great American Getaway 400. The drivers of note that I'm looking at right now are Denny Hamlin, 3 wins there. Kyle Busch, 3 wins there as well. Martin Truex Jr. has ran well in the past there when it was they had 2 races. Denny Hamlin actually has way more than 3 wins there, but 3 wins in the past 5 years. Truex has won there before. I'm going to add Chris Buescher. He got his first win there in a fog shortened race, and Chase Elliott won there when the first 2 cars got disqualified. So we'll see how everything goes in terms of interesting things. Pocono does produce random things like that sometimes, as I mentioned it all. So yeah, I do want to talk about the playoff picture real quick, because we haven't talked about it much this year, and I feel like I'm doing it a disservice. But Alex Bowman locked himself in this week, joining as the race winners that have locked themselves in: William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell. I think I mentioned him already, but I don't know if I did. Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano, putting ourselves at 12 drivers, I believe. Where the bubble right now, first out is Bubba Wallace, but Truex Jr. is at 601 points. Wallace is at 476, so it's 100+ point buffer there on Truex. He's looking good. Going down the list, Ty Gibbs is the next one. He's got a 55, about a 90 point buffer for him. Ross Chastain has a 40 point buffer. Chris Buescher also around that as well. And then Logano first out, 40 points behind Briscoe. He is about 40 points behind Wallace, so 80 points behind the bubble. And then, yeah. Then Kyle Busch, Gilliland, and Barry are the next guys out who are ways behind. So, playoff picture, if we want to have an interesting bubble line, we're going to need to have a new winner. And we have 6 races left. So in theory, we could see guys with wins not make the playoffs, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, moving over to our friends at IndyCar. As I mentioned earlier, Joseph Newgarden, very good at, I haven't actually mentioned this, but Joseph Newgarden, very good at Iowa. Pato O'Ward, the only other active winner who has won at Iowa. So leave that in mind. I'm also going to mention Scott McLaughlin and Will Power as my other drivers to watch, along with the 2 that I mentioned already. And I'm also going to mention Colton Herta as my 5th driver to watch. In terms of drivers changing, you have the 20 car this week, Ed Carpenter, and for Rasmussen. Coin cars are Harvey, and who is battling a back injury. So we'll see about how well he can run. He was hampered by that last week, and Catherine Legg. And that is all of the changing drivers this week for them. Point standings for them: Polo leads, has a 40 point gap over Will Power. Pato O'Ward 70 back. Dixon and Herta close to Power, or Pato. Yeah, not much of a championship fight as of right now. Pelot's just dominant. Hasn't had many bad races. Moving over to Sports Car Land, IMSA. No GTP this week, but you do have your LMP2s In the second United car this week, partnering Dan Goldberg, is Felipe Albuquerque. Paul DeRista and Bijoy Garg are not racing this week. Renger van de Zander in the 8 tower, Michael Deenan and Charlie Eswood not going to be racing, partnering with John Ferrano. Similar song and dance for a lot of these next teams. Scott Hufker in for Mikael Jansen or Hunter McElroy, partnering with Stephen Thomas. Stuart Wiltshire in, Dwight Marion, Connor Zilich not going to be racing. Wiltshire will be partnering with Dal Zeal. MDK with high class, their normal drivers, the United 2 and the 04 CrowdStrike normal drivers. 52 Inter Europol, 74 Riley, all normal drivers. The Richard Mill AF course 88 will be having Louis Perez Compact, Nicholas Nielsen, Lila Wadu not racing, Pippo Durrani in that seat there. PJ Hyatt in the AO99 will be partnering with Louis Delatrice instead of Matthew Brabham or Paul Loop Chatine. In GTD Pro, you have I think everyone with their normal team this week. Yeah. Actually, no. 23 Heart of Racing, Riberas will be out for IMSA or WEC commitments. Mario Farnbacher back in the 23 Heart of Racing entry. Everyone else, normal teams. GTD, I don't think everyone will have normal teams because Heart of Racing, their 27 team, Ian James, Zachary Obicon doing WEC, Spencer Pompelli in that car, partnering with Roman DeAngelis. No Andretti 43 this week. I don't know why that is. First race they're missing this year. And scrolling through the list, everyone else with their normal teams this week so far. No, right? Motorsport 120 this week either. So yeah, your leading teams are in LMP2 are the 74 Riley. Your leading team in GTD Pro 77 AO Racing, and GT Daytona is the Windward, winning 4 out of 5 races this year. Can they keep it up? Moving over to WEC. I will say the former winners in for last year for Canada, because I almost skipped that. LMP2 did not race this year, that last year. However, the 74 Riley team, they did win with their current drivers. The 3 Corvette team won last year in GTD, GTD Pro with Antonio Garcia, Jordan Taylor, and the Paul Miller Racing team won in GTD with Sellers and Snow. They're now in Pro this year. So those are the defending teams. Going over to the WEC. Sao Paulo, this is a new racetrack for them. No history to back off of. But in Hypercar, the 2 back to 2-car team with Bam Berlin. The 7 back with their normal group with Conway replacing Jose Maria Lopez. Scrolling down, you have the final. Harry Ticknell is going to be a 2-car. That team with the Proton 99, Harry Ticknell doing IMSA stuff. There'll be a 2-car team with Allender and Neil Yanni. In GT3, out of GT stuff here, Josh Cagle back in the number 95 United Autosport McLaren, placing Hiroshi Hamaguchi. And then you have Clemens Schmid back in the 78 Lexus, replacing the teamer. I'm going to try to pronounce Boguslavski. along with Vanderland and Robin. Jose Maria Lopez back in the number 5, replacing Jack Hawksworth. And finally, 77 triple Aston Martin Distashin, Clement Matu back in, replacing Satoshi Hoshino. So yeah, your point standing leaders, the 6 Porsche and the 91 Manthey EMA won the past 2 races. So that, Ethan, there's something in the air. I can feel it. Can you feel it?
No.
No, but it is. Pick points time.
Yeah.
And now for next week's race picks.
Last week, guess Zach did a good job. He collected the most points with 13. Yeah, 13. Ethan collected 8. I collected 9. Slowly getting the points lead down. F2 sprint, Kimi Antonelli won for the guests. I had the highest finisher in the main race, Zane Maloney. We all got a point for Lando finishing on the podium. He finished 3rd. We all thought he would be 2nd or win. Lewis Hamilton finished on the podium for the guests, and Max Verstappen finished on the podium, getting a point for Ethan and I. Louis Foster did beat Jacob Abel in the Indy Next race, getting ourselves both a point. And Pato Award won the IndyCar race, giving the guests 5 points. Shane SVG won the Xfinity race, giving Ethan and I 5 points. And Tyler Reddick was the highest finisher for the Cup race. Huge for the guests there. Huge that he didn't win. Getting 1 point for them. So, Ethan.
Yes.
Weck.
Yes.
Hello. Go ahead.
I'm going with the number 6 Porsche in the lead of that championship. They are very good. This week we have Morgan as the guests. He went pretty copycat this week. He didn't know that because he didn't know who me and Andrew picked, but you'll see throughout that he wasn't very original. He also went with the number 6.
Yeah, I went with number 8 Toyota. I feel that Toyota just hasn't won many this week. They're due. You can smell them.
Yeah. For LMGT3, 91 Manthey for me, and then Morgan as well.
Yeah, Porsche
Leading
has
championship.
won 3 of the 4 races this year. That's too many. They have to get BOP'd bad, I feel like, this race. So I'm going to stay away from them. I'm going to go the 27 Heart of Racing, Aston Martin. I feel like I've said that a lot recently, but we'll see. IMSA, Canadian Tire, Mosport, whatever you want to call it. Guest and I both went Riley because of the past performance there.
For IMSA, LMP2, Atmo Sport, I went with the 18 era motorsports car. They are not in the lead of the championship, but besides a 12th place finish at Watkins Glen, they have 2 wins on the year. So I went with them.
Go ahead and announce your GTD Pro pick because you share it with a guest.
Yeah, for GTD Pro 77 AO Racing for me and Morgan. They are in the championship lead. 2 wins on the year. That's the most in that category for any team.
Yeah. I'm going with the defending winners in theory with Paul Miller Racing.
Movie. Did you say your GTD pick?
I said GTD Pro, but you got to go to GTD. Since you share guest again.
The 57 Windward is the pick for me and Morgan. Again, they are pretty good, as in they are winning the championship, and they have won 4 out of the 5 races that they have competed in.
I'm ready for a harder racing win. I keep picking them in IMSA, keep picking them in
I feel like
West.
you're just throwing points out the window.
I just no, the trend's gonna break. Windward can't win them all. So I feel like Heart of Racing's like the next best team. They ought to win. They're good enough to win.
They're not having a great year.
Historically, though, I feel like
Historically, sure, but they're not having a great year this year.
they're gonna break out of it. Just you watch.
All right.
Anyway, Indy next. Guest and I going with Jacob Abel. Finished second last year.
Yeah, I'm sticking on the Louis Foster train. He gets me points, whether it be 1, whether it be 5.
We'll
The guy
see.
gets me points. I also did some research. Last week we were a little unsure. I can confirm it is pronounced Louis.
Louis
Louis.
Foster.
I found a video of him saying his own name, and I assume he knows how to pronounce his own name.
I would assume that too. IndyCar Iowa race 1, race 2, guest going Pato Award, strong there. Usually, that's for both races. That's a strong pick.
Yeah.
I'm going with Joseph Newgarden race 1. I don't think he's gonna win both. He's had such a bad year. My instinct was telling me not to pick him. But I went with him originally. If I just changed the other one to Scott McLaughlin, because he was solid at Iowa. He's kind of figured out the short ovals. I think he might take one from Newgarden here. Ethan, what about you?
Yeah. I actually did go with Joseph Newgarden for both races, and I'll tell you why. Because yes, he is not having a very good year. But he is so good at Iowa that even though he isn't having a great year, I am confident that he will win at least one of the races. That's just how good he is there. And I mean, he is due for a win as well. So those two things. Now, I didn't know if he was going to win race 1 or race 2. How am I supposed to know that? So I'm just covering my bases here by picking Joseph Newgarden for both races. Do I realistically think he'll sweep the weekend? No, not at all. But I would imagine him winning at least one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moving on to the truck series, I'm going with Corey Heim time. Morgan agrees with me. He actually agrees with me for all of the NASCAR picks. So I'm just gonna, when I say mine, just remember that those are his as well. Who are you taking for the truck series?
I'm going with the Melon Man Ross Chastain. He's won in the Nice truck this year. Maybe he could do it again at Pocono. He's run well in the Cup in the past. We'll see if he can do it there in the truck.
I haven't realized he was running in the truck series this weekend, but yeah, I assume he has a good shot.
Yeah.
For Pocono, I went with Austin Hill. He has a win there. His rookie season, he finished 5th there. So he runs well there. He hasn't had a win since the first 2 races of the season where he won Daytona and Atlanta. So it's about time for him to get back into the winner's circle, and this is a track that he is strong at. You went with another Cup Series guy.
I was going to go Austin Hill, but I saw you picked him. Like, nah. If this guy's in the field, I'm taking him. I'm taking William Byron. Just a great car, great driver. No reason not to trust it.
Yeah, that's fair. I want you to say who you picked for Cup before I say who I picked for Cup.
Because the other 2 people don't have a functioning brain, it looks like, or at least not a completely functioning brain. They went with a pick that is not a very good
I
pick.
will explain my pick. Do not slander me or my pick.
I'm also slandering the guest. Got to get a 2-for-1 special with that. Double slander. But regardless of which, it's not a very good pick. I don't see any logic or reasoning behind it. I'm going with that being said, because we are not in control of everything, and the drivers are. My driver could have a blown engine. So I'm not. Anything can happen, with these things. But I'm saying Denny Hamlin is my pick. The best. I'm not. I might go as far as say the best driver at any track in the Cup Series right now. Denny Hamlin at Pocono.
Denny Hamlin is very strong at Pocono, but he has been in a rough stretch. He's having a rough time right now. He just is. Like, do you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you look at some of these recent tracks, Hamlin not really strong on the street courses or road courses, which is 2 of the last 5. You've had
Still, even ignoring those, he's in a bit of a slow stretch, I would personally say. And sure, going into a track he's good at, but I don't know if, yeah, he might be the best driver at Pocono, but I don't think he's unchallenged there. I think there's even besides my pick, I think there's plenty of guys that could beat him at Pocono. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But I'm going with a guy who he's done well in Pocono in lower series, whether that be Arca or Xfinity. Runs well at this track. Our Zoom meeting died, but as I was saying, the person I'm picking, he's good at this track, whether it be in the Cup Series or Xfinity or Arca, wherever, whenever, he's performed there. And I'm talking like he has wins there. He has multiple second place finishes there. He just really likes the track. And last year, I mean, he finished 5th. He's also coming off of a 3rd place finish, so he's carrying confidence into this weekend. And I mean, like I said, he's won there in the past. He's done good there in the past. He made his Cup Series debut there a couple years ago, replacing an injured Kurt Busch. That's right. I think Ty Gibbs will get his first career NASCAR win at Pocono. I do. I said it. He's going to do it. Now,
We'll
I
see.
admit, this is probably the most out of left field pick I've had all year. But I genuinely think that if there's an out of left field pick that I was going to do at any point this year, so far, this is one of the better ones to do. I mean, in Xfinity, he has a 2nd place finish in 2022 and in 2021. In the Arca Menard series, he has a win in 2020, and he has a 2nd place in 2021. Like, he is very good at that track. That is not the Cup Series, but he is good at that track. 5th place last year. Like, he is not a scrub there. And in general, like, he's not the best driver on the grid by any means, but he's having a solid year. Like, he has multiple top 5s this year. He's going to get a win one day. Like, it's going to happen. And I think Pocono is a good spot for it. But you like vehemently disagree, Andrew.
Yeah, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Well, he might get a top 5, might crack the podium, but not winning.
Why you hate Ty Gibbs, dude?
I
Is there
don't
something
hate
I
him.
don't know about.
I don't hate him, but he's kind of I don't know. Yeah.
He's getting the win. That's all I know. Morgan agrees with me, so it's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good for you. It won't happen. Anyway, anything you want to say before we depart to the world, Ethan?
We're departing the world. Is
Well,
that what you said?
depart for now.
Okay, I don't want to depart from the world. I guess all I have to say is goodbye. And if I'm not here next week, it's because Andrew departed me from the world.
Okay. I'm gonna have some toast now, people. Goodbye. It's been the Loose Wheel episode number 27 of season 2.
Bye, 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 bye. See you next time. Bye. See ya. Bye. Goodbye. Have a good one. Have a great day. Goodbye.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel. The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.